They played that series in Houston like it was a postseason series, and it wasn't just Juan Soto. We felt the Soto impact, of course, and you could see, what he did in clutch situations. I mean, getting the base hit off a hater, going the opposite way, the defense, all that Soto brings, drawing a clutch walk, whatever it may be. It's not just him. Every single Yankee in that lineup, maybe not every single Yankee, but the majority of Yankees in that lineup fought. They respected every single at-bat. The analogy that I used when I did the WFAN Daily podcast last night was the World Baseball Classic, because you can't compare it to postseason baseball, right? Although you're watching those games, tell me it didn't feel at least a little bit like postseason baseball. It reminded me of the late 90s Yankees. Not saying that this team is going to be that dynasty, but the way that they fought, the way that they cared about this regular season, opening season series, 1 of 162, 2 of 162, 3 of 162, 4 of 162. It felt like a postseason series. It felt like the Yankees were, to each individual playing in the World Baseball Classic, where players care about that. And then there's that drop-off in the regular season. For this particular case, you watch the Yankees, and it feels like postseason. Then you want the drop-off, you watch the Mets. We'll get to them in a little bit. But that's what I loved about this Yankee team. The care, the effort, the passion, the grind, all of that is sustainable. So for those of you who are, it's only 4 games, it's early. It's not just about the results. To me, it would have been the same thing coming on here had the Yankees lost one of those games and taken 3 out of 4. Didn't matter that obviously you want to get the sweep, and it feels great getting that sweep, but it's how they did it. And think about this. They did it without Garrett Cole. They did it with Nestor Cortez not being at his best. And, Marcus Stroman battled. Clark Schmidt looked good. Obviously, the bullpen was terrific, and Clay Holmes shaky, and that's another issue for down the road that maybe, the Yankees will have to figure out. And it's not sustainable to think that the bullpen's not going to give up a run. Would they go 15 and third without allowing a run? But the way that they battled defensively, offensively, coming from behind, 7th inning or later, clutch situation, we haven't seen this from a Yankee team in years. Even the teams that have gotten to American League Championship Series, they have not had that fight. And I believe that is sustainable. The bullpen success, maybe not, although the Yankees keep adding it. Yankees are treating this like it's like we're at the trade deadline, like they're going into October. Start the postseason now. Yankees would win the World Series if you started it right now. That's how hot they are. And I do look forward to the Yankees battling the Orioles all year in the American League East. But you watch this Yankee team. Tell me that it doesn't feel like they could do something special. Tell me that it doesn't feel like they, to a man, are on a mission. This is why I said World Series a bust last week. The Yankees built this thing, whether you think it is, whether I think it is, doesn't matter. Whether what we think will happen or not, doesn't matter. They built it to be a championship team, and through the first 4 games, it looks like it has the potential to be a championship team, and they got guys that give a crap. And that is what you want. Not only guys who are good, but guys who care. Guys who wear it. It was important for the Yankees to go beat the Astros and send an early season message. And if you think those things don't carry over, you're wrong. I go all the way back to 1986 with the Mets, after losing the division to the St. Louis Cardinals back then, they come back in the 86 regular season and send the early season message. And they took care of them in St. Louis, and the Cardinals never got off the mat in 1986. Mets ran roughshod through the rest of the National League. Not to say the Yankees are going to do the same thing, but they could. And I'll tell you this, at least from my perspective, the Astros, I'm not scared of the Astros anymore. Yankees just went in there and owned them for 4 straight games. That's what you're looking for. Now, other teams are on notice. The Astros just got knocked in the teeth, left for dead in Houston in front of their home fans for 4 straight games. Seeing Juan Soto and Aaron Judge and all the Yankees celebrating, leaving them for dead for a change. Yankees get the better of them. You don't think that's going to carry over at some point? I do. What it does for the Yankees' confidence, what it does to hurt the Astros, what it does to put the league on notice. It's not just 4 games. The Yankees are coming. 4 games into the season, they look like they're ready for the postseason. BT and Sal on the Fan. Hoff, BT's out today celebrating the Easter holiday with his family in Texas. BT, Hoff, what do you got for me?
First of all, it sounds like you're about to anoint the Yankees, the evil empire, call Brian Cashman King or something like that, the way you're talking about. The pitches slowed down a little bit. It's 4 freaking games. And by the way, you're sitting over here talking about how the Yankees offense was explosive, is an unbelievable clutch hitting. It was Juan Soto and Oswaldo Cabrera.
Yeah,
that was it. There was nothing else. Everything else was hit by pitches, maybe a sac fly here or there. No, Aaron Judge, nothing. Gleyber Torres, great leadoff hitter, nothing. There was nothing from so many guys.
Even more so, though, Hoff, without Aaron Judge, with Giancarlo Stanton still looking washed up, I don't care about his meaningless home run. Without Judge in recent years, the Yankees are dead. They basically have had Judge do nothing, and they're looking like a team. You know, all those guys in the 90s that drove people nuts, if you were not a Yankee fan, grinding out at bats, whether it's Scott Brosius or Chad Curtis, like pick one of those guys. That would, not to mention, obviously, the better players, but even the lower guys in the order, that's what it feels like. Verdugo, clutch player. Like all the Brian Cashman board in the offseason, everything he thought for once, at least the way he envisioned it coming together with the addition of Stroman, Verdugo, and Soto, it worked for 4 games.
Yeah, but that's baseball today, though. You're talking about the Yankee lineup was grinding out pitchers. They were making them watch pitchers. Dude, that's baseball today. No starting pitcher goes more than 4 or 5 innings. I mean, look across the league. It wasn't.
Did you watch the Mets? Did you watch the Mets? No pitcher. They make Freddie Peralta look like Cy Young. And yet the Yankees are working out at bats, grinding. Coming back against the Astros, no less.
By the way, the Astros gave those games to the Yankees.
Oh.
The defense was terrible. And by the way, I'm still not convinced that Trevino tagged Dubon at home plate. That Soto throw was great, but Paul O'Neill was like maybe a lace touchdown. They got very lucky to start the season.
You know what? Luck is a part of it, Hoff. And the Yankees will take it because they've been unlucky before in Houston. Back in the dynasty, the Yankees were great, but they were also lucky, too, getting the benefit of some calls. The way that you cannot start a season any better if you're the New York Yankees. The way that I feel about this team going into the season with certain question marks. Now, we all thought they'd be good, but to what extent? But remember, we would draw it up to each individual. Oh, if this guy does that, or if this happens, or that happens. It's different when you actually watch it play out. Same thing with the Mets, and we'll get to them on the opposite side. Unfortunately, it's the same thing, but the total opposite. But when you draw it up on paper, you can envision how things are going to go. How's this going to work out? How's that going to play out? And then you watch it, and you feel it, and you feel the energy. And I'm glad you brought up Oswaldo Cabrera. I felt the energy from him. We kind of dismissed it. Oh, LeMahieu's going to be out. That's not the idea. Think about it. Yankees get lucky even when they get unlucky. They would have liked to have had LeMahieu there. But you know what? Maybe LeMahieu being out is a good thing for them in the long haul. LeMahieu looking like he's seen better days clearly in the last several years. Oswaldo Cabrera, they gave him an opportunity. You could always feel the energy from him, but the production wasn't there consistently. He's been on a mission here for 4 straight games. He's on a tear. The Yankees would not have swept the Astros without him. Maybe this is the beginning of Oswaldo Cabrera making his presence felt. And one thing you said there, Hoff, that I'm going to vehemently disagree with. The evil empire. This is not the evil empire. Yes, they spend a lot of money, but they went out there and traded for Juan Soto for 1 season. That took guts to go do that. It's Juan Soto, yes, and if they could have one move to make, that's the move you make. But they put their you-know-what on the table, went out there and made that move. They brought in some other guys, about Verdugo and all that, but they also have young guys that have been a part of this. So it's not just going out there and buying everybody. It's Volpe. It's going to be Austin Wells trying to contribute. Obviously, we know what Aaron Judge's not a young guy anymore, but you get the point. Oswaldo Cabrera. And the Yankees aren't even whole yet. That is a hell of an opening series for the New York Yankees. Richie is in Queens. What's up, Richie?
Yeah, Sal,
yes.
Good talking to you. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying to a certain point. I'm not going to get crazy over 4 games, but what they did is really a springboard, and they sent a message. And for them to win these kind of games, and you know what's another thing, Sal? He was giving up missiles in the 9th inning. But the fact that they won that game with the birdie play down the line, the fact that Verdugo ended it the way he did, we spoke earlier. I knew their outfield. I knew their offense was going to get better. Yes, it is only 4 games, but it's a heck of a way to start against a team that's been killing you for 7 years.
And it's not just that, Richie, and thank you for the call. And by the way, our friends at Town Fair Tire remind you that at Town Fair Tire, you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. It's not just the results. You touched on it, Richie. There's a couple of key points there. It's the ability to work in at bat, the ability to be clutch performers. Obviously, not everyone, but the way that the Yankees are battling in these at bats, putting the bat on the ball, being clutch in big-time situations, playing defense, those are things you just didn't see. You can see, I don't care what the names on the back of the jerseys say. Obviously, the Yankees don't have the names on the back. You know what I'm talking about. I don't care what the names on the lineup cards say. I care about what they look like when I watch them with my own eyes. And on paper, you can poke holes and say, well, I don't know if this guy's going to work. I don't know if this is going to work. Or you can do the opposite and say, oh, this looks great. But then you watch them in reality, and sometimes it doesn't match what you think. Sometimes it does for the good. Sometimes it does for the bad. Sometimes it exceeds your expectations. Sometimes it disappoints. With the Yankees, that is exactly how Brian Cashman and company would have drawn it up. Now, they've drawn it up in the past hoping that things would be better, whether it's Josh Donaldson in recent years, whoever, Gary Sanchez going back, and it doesn't always work out that way. And it's still early, I know that, but there are reasons, legitimate reasons to believe that this could finally be, Cashman's blueprint could finally become the effective blueprint to get back to and win a World Series. Chris is in the Bronx. What's up, Chris?
Hey, good morning, Sal. Just wanted to say, man, like you said, the results are great, but what I saw was all the things in these 4 games, all the things we didn't do last year. And, I know you said you grazed Stanton, but the fact he hit a line drive bullet to left field and made it to second, and then at the next play tagged up and made it to third and then ended up scoring, those were the things that we didn't even get from Stanton. Stanton was a single guarantee no matter how hard he hit the ball, and that just went across the board. And it goes to show that this team is playing with a different feeling, and keeping Astros, definitely puts us ready for the rest of the season.
My mouth, thank you, Chris, for the call. My mouth would be watering if I'm the New York Yankees about getting this thing to the postseason. That's the most frustrating part. It's April. We're 4 games in, first 4 games of the year. Get us to October, because this is exactly what wins. That type of baseball, that series in Houston is exactly what wins in the postseason. And the Yankees haven't had that in years. And we knew Soto was going to make a difference. I would talk with BT about this all the time, whether you think Soto's going to stay, whether he's going to leave, whatever. It doesn't matter whether they went all in or not to add on top of Soto. The one thing is for certain is that Juan Soto brings exactly what the Yankees have been lacking once they get to the postseason. They have not had that ability to hit in the clutch, grind at bats, all that stuff in the postseason. That's been missing. They've been a bully offense at times, dominates home runs in the regular season. They bludgeon people. They go to the postseason, and they're not the same. That's been their biggest issue. Not last year. Last year was the aberration. Prior to that, with the since 2017 through about 2021 probably, that was their biggest issue. Since then, they've had some other issues. Getting there has been part of the problem, too, even though they got there and made the wild card a couple years ago, and then last year, obviously, not getting there. But their biggest issue before that was not hitting in the postseason. Well, Juan Soto was going to bring that no matter what. But it looks like Verdugo might be bringing a little bit of that, too. Looks like Volpe, a guy who I thought last year could bring that. He might be bringing that a little bit, too. And it's not just those guys. It's other guys as well. The defense as well. Those are things. The bullpen being lights out. Pitchers grinding and battling even if they don't have their best stuff. That's what wins in the postseason. Unfortunately, there's a long way to go until we get there. Fortunately, you saw the blueprint over the first 4 games of how the New York Yankees can be a World Series team. Hector is in Washington Heights. What's up, Hector?
Sal, what is going on here? I'm working solo Sal. Is this the overnight? Almost feels like the overnight.
It does feel like the overnight, Hector. The overnight in prime time.
And listen, man, I'm kind of glad you're opening with the Yankees and not the Mets, and I'm going to try to stay away from all the nonsense, whether McNeil should have dropped the knee and knocked Hoskins out, whether we should have drilled him.
I'll get to that later on. We're going
to say about that, but listen, you're nailing it, and listen, you think Soto's coming to the Mets, forget about it. But it's so impressive. Here we have the Mets, right, looking for leadership, looking for somebody to influence the young guys, somebody that's going to help Pete Alonso out and be a better hitter, help this guy be a better hitter. And then you have Juan Soto, who does this naturally, right? You hear about Oswaldo Cabrera following him around and all of that stuff. And then that at-bat yesterday, Sal, everybody focuses on the hit. And you touched about, the way the Yankees work in the count. And we talk about guys taking walks, striking out, and all of that stuff. And to me, that's the difference. The way these guys work the count, not just to take a walk, but yeah, they'll take it if you give it to them, but to get on base and to keep the line moving. And then the way he takes these pitches, that first pitch from Hader, right, that was called a strike, that's a ball, but it's called a strike, right? And it doesn't throw him off his at-bat. He takes the next pitch, which is a good pitch. He doesn't swing at it and nods at him like, yeah, I see you. I know what you're trying to do. The third pitch, called strike, a pitch that Paul O'Neill says, that's a hittable pitch. Doesn't bother him. You know what I'm saying?
He's a beast. Yeah, Hector, you and I have disagreed on certain things, whether it's the Mets or Yankees or Knicks, whatever it may be. One thing we've been consistent on is our love for Juan Soto, and there's a reason for that. And even saying that he's going to be here and be a Yankee, he's not going to change his swing. He's not going to be intimidated. Juan Soto is as sure a bet, and thank you for the call, Hector. Glad to hear you're feeling better. Juan Soto is as sure of a bet as there is to succeed in New York. And the reason why I specify New York, because it doesn't matter anywhere else. It matters here. And even the greatest of players have struggled here. And I knew that Juan Soto wasn't going to have that issue. You saw what he did in the postseason in 2019 at a very young age coming into the league, dominating the biggest of spots against the biggest and baddest of pitchers. Lefty, doesn't matter. And now you're going to get a chance to see it, as we have for 4 straight days, night in, night out. Soto is a beast. Not intimidated by New York, not intimidated by the postseason, not intimidated by any lefties. Matter of fact, he's the opposite of intimidated. He loves it. He's even better in New York, which is something we also thought could be the possibility years ago. And the Yankees said, you know what? And you got to give them credit. We're going to be aggressive here. Not going to wait in free agency to go take our chance. We're going to go get him now. And they did. And they got him now. It's not about next year. It's about this year. But I'll tell you this, to Hector's point, even as somebody who's saying that Soto's going to go to the Mets, after watching those 4 games, I don't know how you don't feel like Juan Soto is already in love with being a New York Yankee.